So not all of our videos need to start with an intro sketch, do they? I mean, we can just go at the topic at hand and just discuss from here. I mean, what even is an intro sketch anymore? What even is a cold open?
We don't know any of this. An intro sketch is merely just a concept given to us by our governments. You don't know, I don't know, nobody can actually define what an intro sketch even is. I mean, this in of itself, we don't know. I don't even know if I'm doing an intro sketch right now. Is this even an intro sketch? Or maybe this is a dream. We will never know. We will always be searching, but always be mindful of what intro sketches even are.
Okay, this is just crazy talk. That's enough out of me. Why don't we just actually get to the topic at hand here? That's what you clicked on this video, right? Right? So, there's been a lot of talk about boycotting video games, and I'm not even just talking about hold Ubisoft accountable, because at this point, by the time this video comes out, it will be essentially treated like a dead meme, which it never should be. Boycotting game companies should never be treated as memes, but we're going to get into that in a little bit into the video. But this has been a lot of times, not just with Ubisoft recently, but also with Rockstar. Rockstar even had the whole 100-hour work week, and a lot of people just said we need to boycott Rockstar, and a lot of people just didn't understand how that should work, or should we not be compensating the developers that work these 100-hour work weeks, or even boycotting Randy Pitchford games, specifically Randy Pitchford, not just Gearbox, I guess. But this conversation has gone on a lot, but we don't really understand the concept or how we should be doing boycotts on video game companies. They're always just, just
don't buy their games.
That's it. And you don't buy their games for a couple months, and then you're right back on the train, and that's how they get away with different things. But I want to discuss in this video just my own personal look at how to boycott video game companies and all that junk. Whatever. This is just my opinion. Go watch another video. I really don't care. But before we get into the topic at hand, well, hello. Welcome to the channel. It's called Evalt because I'm Adam Evalt and my wife is editing this video, Liz Evalt. So therefore, Evalt. Great. Got that one established. But if you're so inclined to, why don't you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you know when all these videos drop. We have a good time here. Not really a weekly, I won't promise you weekly videos, but we will drop these videos whenever we have the chance to. So definitely hit that subscribe so that you know when all these videos come out. But enough about that. Boom. Plugs. We did it. Great. My wrist just cracked. Ouch. I'm old. But I want to jump into the first point that I have, the first chapter of this video essay, I guess you can say. Before we even find out how we need to boycott video game companies, we need to figure out what boycotts actually are. We need to understand them. We need to understand the term. We need to understand what boycotts are actually for. So let's get into that with our first chapter. Boycotts. By definition, what a boycott is a very, very importantly, a non-violent disapproval of a company. And I need to specify that, a non-violent. And I think this can go in two different directions of non-violent. One being not physically violent. Wow, that was a shocker right there. Yeah, we can always just say,
Oh, well, I'm not being violent at all.
I love my fellow man.
but also on the other hand, non-violent threats on the internet. You can't just go on Twitter. You can't just say boycott a company. And I'm not even going to say a specific company. Let's just talk about the definition of what a boycott is. So let's say you say, I'm boycotting, I don't know, the Evalt channel, I guess. I don't really care. Let's boycott them. And then you just send them harassment and, violent threats on their life. that's also not going into nonviolence. That's actually violence because we're going into threats here. But what a boycott should be by definition is one, very first, is a non-violence, and then the second part that I said is a disapproval of company standards. You need to actually express what you are disapproving of. You should know what you're disapproving of. You should know the facts of the company. You should actually talk to people who are within that company and understand what the problems are so that you can educate yourself, so that what boycotts are actually are for educational purposes, and educate the public of why they also should be boycotting the company, not just you. So yeah, by definition, non-violent disapproval. And how do you go about that non-violent disapproval of that company? By not, and this is where a lot of people know this part of the definition, not consuming their products and not engaging in company standards, and just saying, I will no longer consume anything by this company, by this particular person, and these are the reasons why. So boycotts should not end with you just saying that,
Oh, well, they're canceled.
why? You should actually just say to the public, you should not be consuming these kind of products because step A, step B, step C, and not just saying, don't consume these products because you're a horrible person.
And there's a special place in hell for people who buy these products.
Those are not reasons at all, and they will not educate the public, and they will continue consuming that. Great example, and one of the most famous examples of boycotting a company is, if everybody knows the name by now, activist Cesar Chavez, who actually held a boycott. And I'm sorry I'm laughing, but it gets this minimal that we can boycott this. He actually came across into farmers, the National Farmers Association. Cesar Chavez, along with the National Farmers Association, boycotted the consumption of grapes. And he actually had reasons to. And what Caesar did with, the people who were in the farming industry and were farming these grapes is educating the public, hey, do not consume these grapes because they have low wages, poor working conditions. Step A, step B, step C. These are my reasons, right, to boycott grapes. And this is why you, the public, should not be consuming grapes, and why you should not be buying California specifically grapes until they make a change. What Caesar did was not consume the product, work with the people who were within that corporation, and calmly and non-violently educated the public of what that product does to the workers. And everybody was educated, and guess what? Grape sales, I guess as we can call them, grape sales just dropped. They dipped, and the California Raisin Corporation, okay, maybe I should have wrote down the name of that corporation, but here we are now. But they actually made changes. They raised wages because companies like money. They love consumption. Consumption of products is what these companies want you to do. And if you're not consuming them, they're going to make changes of how they can get you back into consuming that product. That is what a boycott should be doing. Now, should we expect change right away? Ideally, yeah, okay, we should be expecting change right away, like within months. But we also need to be patient with our boycotts. We need to constantly be educating people for at least a year, because here's the real issue when people think about boycotts. They just won't consume a product for a couple months, right? And then they'll just say, why aren't there any changes? Because companies have bad quarters. They always have bad quarters. They'll see, oh, well, quarter one, their profits drop, but, we'll get them back in quarter two. You have to go for the long run. You always have to say to yourself, we need to boycott forever. At this point, we need to boycott until the end of time. We will never consume until they make these kinds of changes. And therefore, you can't just say quarter one was bad. Now they'll say quarter two, quarter three, quarter four. Q5. All of these were just bad sales, and that's when they'll start to make changes. So they are intentional ways to protest a company's standards and an education to the public and working with the people who are within that corporation. And that's how we set up an actual boycott, a successful boycott, to say that I disapprove, I will not consume, and I will tell you my reasons. But that's what a boycott is by standard. And I think we should be taking that kind of definition and leading by Cesar Chavez's, pronunciations and all that. Cesar Chavez's example and take it into video game companies. And that's where we come into the play of the topic at hand. Boycotts do help if we set a standard for them. But boycotts in the video game industry, will they actually help the industry? How do we boycott them? Well, let's continue this conversation right into chapter 2. So as we discussed in chapter 1, boycotts should be non-violent disapprovals of a company and no longer consuming their products. Well, guess what? That actually transitions into video game companies. List your video game company that you are currently boycotting. For me, currently, it's Ubisoft, and I can give into my reasons, but that can be a separate video. But I want to talk about the general standards of the video game industry, right? There's many videos. In fact, I'll link one right here about why we need to be, boycotting Ubisoft. So, take that into account. I think it lays out some great groundwork, but again, I want to talk about the general standard of the video game industry. So whichever video game company that you decide to boycott, you need to know that it should be a non-violence, a non-harassing, a non-threatening kind of disapproval for the company. And what are gamers most known for? We're notorious for it. That's right, everybody. Toxic behavior. Hooray! We're all toxic. Gamers are toxic. That's who we are, and that's all we'll ever be, won't it? Because that's how video game companies understand you. Doesn't matter what you say on Twitter, they will see you as a toxic human being because you're a gamer, and they won't listen to your standards. But that's why we need to work on all gamers alike being non-threatening and understanding of video game companies. And we need to actually talk to these people who actually work within the industry to see how these standards are met. See, that's the problem that we have. We just blow things out of proportion. We get so aggravated, and that's how we got the tag toxic. That's how we got that name, because we just go at it and don't care about other people's feelings. I guess. I don't know. But that's how we'll be seen at first. We need to understand that you will be seen as toxic and your voice will not be heard because gamers toxic is what video game companies say. And the bigger that these video game industry veterans and CEOs and companies, the larger they get. As I said before with Ubisoft, Ubisoft is a global corporation at this point. There are offices all over the world. The bigger they get, the less accountable they seem to be. Because again, we seem to do things on a threatening level to their eyes. Now, to boycott a video game company, we need to be calm and we need to understand, and we need to understand what is going on. And we need to have clear-cut reasons, concrete reasons of why we're boycotting the company and set a standard for the video game industry. That's what we need to do. That's plain and simple. Because again, they're going to get bigger and bigger and less accountable as the years go on. Right now, the year is 2021, and some of the biggest problems coming out of the video game industry is one, very minuscule thing, a micro thing, if you will, microtransactions, just petty money taking from you, saying that you bought a full price game. Well, guess what?
More transactions, please and thank you.
Yum, yum, yum.
They get you with that. They get you with grinds. They get you with overcharging games. They keep raising prices. But also, on the other flip side, they're actually discriminating against women and people of color. They're actually within offices allowing sexual harassment to go forward. They have crunched at unreasonable rates I mean, look at Jason Schreier's article about BioWare when they were making Anthem. There's people actually going into closets and crying for hours because of the way they were being treated. That's not how human beings should be treated. No, no, no. I don't care what job you're at. If you say that, oh, well, I do that at my job. I cry for 2 hours as soon as I get in. Shout out to all restaurant workers crying for hours in the walk-in. Am I right? I know I'm right. But that's it. Is that the bigger that they get, the more egregious their actions will be. We need to hold these video game industry veterans at a higher standard. We need to hold them at a better pace. And how can we do that? Boycotting them, and actually boycotting them, actually intentionally looking at the reasons that we have and actually not giving them access to our money. Because what do video game industry people want? That's right, everybody. Your money. They want your money. How does Ubisoft keep getting more offices around the world? That's right. They got your money. That's simply it. They got your money. And that's how the industry rolls forward and gets bigger. Why?
Money.
That's plain and simple. That's it. So if we want to boycott these video game industry people, we need to, not give them access to our wallets. And once they lose that, and once after Q1 and Q2 and Q3 are dipping in sales, and once you have stopped being a toxic gamer in their eyes, anyway, not all of us are toxic, I guess, they will listen to your reasons. They want you to keep spending money at their company. And guess what? Because you asked the people that actually work at these companies, and because you denied access to your wallet, and because you are giving rational reasons of why they need to change, they will change after time. You need to put in the time. You need to put in the work. You need to actually put in the commitment to a boycott and not treat it like a trendy hashtag or just a trend on the social medias or just something that, just gets people talking and creating conversation. Conversation's one thing, but reasons are another. So that's it. We need to stay committed to this boycott, whatever that may be. Some of you are boycotting, and sometimes I'm still thinking about it because I hear your reasons, boycotting the latest Hogwarts game because of J.K. Rowling and her standards. I am hearing your reasons, and I'm hearing why we need to boycott that company, and that's just it. I'm hearing reasons, not just,
Don't buy the Hogwarts game because you have a special place in hell if you do.
again, that's not a reason. That's not a reason. But my point in all of this is this: stay committed, don't give them access to your money, and tell the public in a rational way why they shouldn't. Because if you want the public to stop giving money to these industries, guess what? You need to convince the public to say, hey, this is why we should be avoiding this company. This is what they're doing. This is what I've seen. This is what I've read. I've talked to people in the industry. We need to deny access. And those people in the jobs need to look for different jobs. They need to get out, and they need to actually walk out like they did at Riot Studios. But that's just me. But that's how we can deny access. That's how we can lead a successful boycott into the video game industry. But here's the problem. Will we see change? Is it ever going to happen? Will the video games industry ever listen? Because again, as I said before, you're just a small minority of people. You're going to constantly give them money. Everybody's going to give them money. So why even start? Why just stop giving money? Because eventually, no one's going to care. But it could. Let's ask this. Will we ever see a change? Let's finish this talk. So if you take one thing away from this video, just one thing, and this is something I've said in both chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, but I'm going to end it again with this. There are two main factors of what leads to a successful boycott. That is dedication and patience. And I've said that in chapter 1, said it in chapter 2. I'm going to say it in chapter 3. Two main factors. Dedication to the cause, commitment to the cause, and saying that you will not be buying any of these products for the foreseeable future until they create change. Dedication to that cause. And number 2, patience. understanding that these great corporations, these multi-billion dollar corporations will not care if they see one bad quarter. They will not care. They don't. What a quarter is, if you don't know, is 3 months into the fiscal year, blah, blah, blah. They measure things by quarters. They measure things by fiscal years and business side, whatever. But that's just it. They don't care about a bad quarter. They'll just hop right back to it. But it requires that patience and patience with other people. When saying that,
Oh, who cares about that?
Oh, why do we keep whining? That's their thing.
They're in that job. They can look for a different job.
Blah, blah, blah.
we need to also have patience with people. When explaining our reasons, we need to have patience with the public because the public will not understand right away. You need to constantly be talking about this. You need to be constantly be saying, this is why, and this is the latest thing that's come out of this video game industry in this company. And we need to understand that we shouldn't be consuming this. The public will understand eventually. You just need to be patient with them. You need to be patient with the cause. You need to be patient with the people. You need to be patient with yourself because this is not your fight. This is not your cause. This is the cause of other people, because here's the bottom line here. We, and probably you watching this video, we all care about video games. We love video games. Set in stone, we love video games. We want to see a future for video games. We love the past of video games. We want to see video games be preserved and actually treasured and actually go on to our children's age and their children. We love gaming that much. So how can we make a change to make sure that our children who would want to be video game developers actually go into safe companies and actually go in and not expecting to be sexually harassed? Well, who knows? By dedication and patience. That's the only way we'll see change in these video game companies. So again, going back to chapter 1, understand what a boycott is and understand what the point of a boycott is and understand that a boycott takes time. Going into chapter 2 is that, listen, these video game industry people, they're big. They're head over heels over money, right? They will not care what you say. They don't care about social media users. They don't. They straight up don't. But you need to actually lead a cause that matters and is intentional and is actually patient and responsive. Not responsive, because that's responsive is the opposite of patient. Shut up. But we need to be reasonable with these people. That's it. The only way we'll see change is if we're dedicated and we're patient enough to see the end of it. And maybe things won't end, but at least you're doing your part. At least you're not consuming this company. Ubisoft used to be my favorite video game company of all time. I love Assassin's Creed. I love Watch Dogs. I love these games, right? I love all the most of the games. I love Rainbow Six Siege. But because, if you watch the video that I tagged in a previous chapter, because they're allowing sexual harassment to go on with their company, because they're allowing this kind of inner circle to happen, because the CEO just said, I had a blind eye, I didn't know what was happening, I can't support a company that does that. And again, there's many more people that explain it better and dedicated their videos to explain why Ubisoft needs to be boycotted. But that's my stance. I'm not going to be buying any more Assassin's Creed games or any Watch Dogs games or any Rainbow Six Siege expansions or anything of that. You just can't consume this company anymore. And that's just my part. And I hope you can explain to me in the comments, what are some video game companies that you're boycotting? And give me reasons why I shouldn't. Maybe it's the whole industry in of itself that needs to be boycotted. Who knows? But we need to be dedicated to the cause and patient with people to have them understand. And I think that's all I have to say in this video. So I'll just leave it to you. Explain your thoughts in the comments down below. Explain why I suck so much, because if I haven't already reminded myself, go on, tell me new reasons why I suck, because I've said everything to myself in the mirror this morning. Self-deprecation. But thank you for watching this video. Really thank you, because I've gone on way too much, so thank you for sticking to the end. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you know when all these videos drop. We're probably going to take our time with these videos, so sorry about that, but we thank you for sticking around to the end. Until the next one, who knows when? I don't know. Thanks again. See you around. Have a good one. And explain to people